Right on. Sounded great.
I'm hitting it now. All right, it says we're live now. Here we go. We'll try that one more time. So that was just practice. Corley Moore, Firehouse Vigilance. It is weekly scrap number 112. My very special guest tonight is Kevin Lewis. He is a 27-year student of the fire service. He has served both on the volunteer and career. He has spent the last 15 years with Dallas Fire Rescue. He is a tillerman on Hook and Ladder 3 since 2009. He is an academy instructor. He is part of the Frontier Fools training cadre. In fact, I'm repping him tonight. And the founder of Twisted Truckie Training. He loves to teach, and he is passionate about ladder trucks, especially if they bend. So Kevin Lewis, my brother, welcome to Weekly Scrap number 112.
Thanks again. Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Perfect. Okay, this time we're actually live. We just did a dry run for those who weren't here or couldn't be here because we weren't live. Anything I missed in the intro? Anything you would like to add?
No, sir. You got it all. That's about it.
Perfect. I'm going to lead off with a quick public service announcements, which is this. The scrap's been going for a while now. I never want to do ads or sell ads on this. I never want to read a ad copy for, buying tacos or something to make it work. But I was sitting having frosted barley pops with Kyle Romagus, and he said, what you should do is just say, hey, if you get value out of the scrap, if you support the scrap, donate some money to it to support it. I want to upgrade the equipment. I want to go on the road with some stuff. So anyway, a lot of stuff I want to do. So on firehousevigilance.com, you can go there, and if you get value out of it, if it brings you value, absolutely, go there and you can support the scrap. So thanks for repping. All right, so that's
Absolutely.
out of the way. Questions. So here we go. We got people logging in. Let me check in and see what we got going on. Christopher Snow said, yes, sir. Mason Galuser says, I raise a cigar and a bourbon to us. Brian LaFleur said, come to see if the stash would fit on the screen. So far, so good.
Right on.
All right.
On.
First question out the gate. Why is Dallas Station 3 called the Gator Pit?
That's a good one to start with. A lot of folks, they're concerned about that because we're a hazmat station. They think, oh, well, you just threw an alligator on there or whatever the case may be. But, our station was built in the early 60s. And there's an atrium in the middle of the living quarters. It actually separates the rec room and the living quarters. And what they used to do out there, I have no idea. But in the early 60s, some of the firemen found a mail order in the back of a magazine for baby alligators, where you could purchase baby alligators. And you know how firemen are. They bought some.
Sure.
And lo and behold, a couple weeks later, one of them showed up in a box in front of the fire station.
Wow.
So yeah, they put it in the atrium and raised it. There's a big Pilgrim's Pride chicken plant down the street from the firehouse, and they would go get chicken scraps from the warehouse, and that was the rookie's job. The rookie would get there and put his gear on the truck or the engine, and then go to the Pilgrim's Pride shop and get some chicken scraps and come back and feed the gator. Wow. And that gator lived there for a little over 20 years.
Wow.
And and then it got to be too big
Sure.
and too mean. So they would actually have to get up on the roof and throw the scraps down into the atrium to the gator. And eventually it got so bad that we had to give it to the Dallas Zoo. So they came and got him and hauled him off. And he lived at the zoo for about 10 more years before he died. So yeah, man, we don't have Dalmatians. We have alligators. We're
typical fireman, man. I would understand if it was Florida, or down in Louisiana or something, but just middle of Texas.
Yeah, tropical downtown Dallas.
Right on. Very cool, man. So has there ever been any talk about getting another one to keep the tradition alive?
We've had several people ask us that, and we even had a guy that he had killed one somehow and stuffed it, and it was about an 11-foot alligator.
Oh, wow.
But it was stuffed vertically. And he's like, I want to give it to y'all because I'm moving and I need to relocate and I can't take this giant alligator with me. And we really wanted to get it, but the challenge was, where were we going to put it? The only place it would fit is in the at bay. Because like I said, it's an older firehouse, so it's got shorter ceilings.
Right.
And so it's like, well, if we leave that nice statue out in the at bay, it kind of defeats the purpose. It'll get tore up, and we ended up not getting it from him. But we've thought about trying to find ways around maybe relocating something there similar,
right,
to keep it going, But we still have the sign. There's still a sign above the door that leads to the atrium that says, caution alligator. and but it's still set up for one. But I don't know if the city's going to allow it this late in the game.
Right on, right on. So it is safe to say that you are passionate about trucks and truck work. Talk to me.
Yes, sir. Well, one of the things is I guess I'm a third generation firefighter. My grandfather and my father were both firemen, and they were both rescue guys. Early 70s, they got really heavy into the rescue game. So it wasn't, when I was growing up, I was going to demonstrations with, my dad teaching. My dad used to teach for Hearst when the A32s first came out. So
Okay.
I would go to a lot of the live demos and stuff where they were doing extrication, and he was, teaching how to do it with both, the old Porta Powers and the come-alongs, and then he'd get out the Hearst power plant and go to work. And that just kind of intrigued me as far as, firemen doing a whole lot more than just squirting water, as what it appeared to be. And as I grew up, and I thought fire trucks were cool and ladder trucks were cool, and oddly enough, I thought tiller trucks were just weird, because I'm from Illinois, and I started fighting fire in Illinois, and we didn't have tillers, but everything we had a bucket on it, and as soon as I could volunteer, the low guy gets stuck on the crap apparatus, right? So we had an old, my volunteer department had an old 69 Ford cab over, rough looking 60, 75 foot Pittman snorkel. And they're like, stick the rook on the snorkel. And it's like, okay, and then I just got all into the truck aspect of it, learning what the truck did, and learning ground ladders and learning all this other stuff. And just, I had more time to practice because everybody left me alone because I was with that albatross snorkel that we had, and then it stuck. Yeah. And then I went out to, I joined the military. I went out to California, and I became they call them paid call or seasonal firefighter for San Bernardino County. And there again, I got stuck on the truck. All the senior guys that were there, they got on the engines because they were both structural and wildland firefighters. And I was not a wildland firefighter. So I was going to stay I was happy to stay on the truck. I didn't care too much for the wildland aspect. And then that's when I got introduced into tillers. I went to Riverside County, they still do. They put on a great truck academy. And, the class, it's a 2-week long, nothing but truck stuff. And it started off with Dr. Burrell. Jim Burrell came in and taught aerial physics to us.
Oh, wow.
And, and his whole, the first 5 minutes of his presentation are pictures of him traveling around the United States and destroying aerials. He load tested them. And, of course, a lot were the old LaFrances and the old, the medium duty Seagraves and stuff like that. But then we went out and started working off of these different trucks. And that area of California has a huge mix of trucks. And we had the old Grumman rear mount platforms, and then the telesquirts from the smaller departments. And then the tiller truck showed up. And I was like, man, that thing just seems like it's a huge waste of space, but then I got educated. These guys from Long Beach and Huntington Beach and LA, these big time truck guys got out there, and they're like, "Oh man, watch this, watch this," and they just start repositioning this truck and setting it and doing things. It's like, all right, yeah, you got me. I mean, there's no better option, of all these different apparatus. There's no better option than this tiller. And then it was one of those deals. As I got out, I transitioned out of the military. I came to Texas because I got a lot of hits on my resume in Texas. So I came to Texas and got on a small department. And, again, I went through fire academy 4 times just because everywhere I went, I had to go through another academy. California didn't accept Illinois, and then Texas didn't accept California. And then when I finally went to Dallas didn't accept anybody but theirs. Had to read. But when I got to Texas, I was like, man, look, I was looking at everything as far as firefighting wise. And my only career goal that I hadn't met prior to coming to Texas was I wanted to be a truck captain, because from the folks that I learned from, that the truck captain he's it on the fire ground. If you have he is the lead problem solver. He's the go-to guy for everybody. You see battalion chiefs talking to that truck captain and going, "Hey, Cap, what do you think about that?"
Yeah.
getting that experience and that knowledge from that truck captain. So I was like, that's what I want to do. And there's only 2 or 3 cities that were in Texas that were still running true truck companies. So I started looking, and Dallas was the only one that had tiller trucks. So, and at the time they only had one at my fire station. At Fire Station 3 had the only tiller truck because of a neighborhood that we have. So, I did what I needed to do and worked where I needed to work, doing what I needed to do. I was an engineer on a Quint for a while, and that was so confusing because, everything I wanted to do was truck oriented, but I kept getting reminded that it's an engine first and a truck second, but that's here nor there. But I finally got to Dallas and got on that truck, and man, just after working, like I said, I've worked off of snorkels, I've worked off of rear mount ladders, I've worked off of mid mount ladders, and I just can't find anything that positions as well, that carries the equipment better, that is just better overall functioning than the tiller truck. So I got there and I started trying to tell people, hey, listen, they're like, oh, we're getting a new truck and we're going to do, we're getting a tandem axle 75-foot ladder with, and I'm like, well, why, what are you doing? And it was one of those things. It was like, well, they've always done it this way and they're always doing it this way. And it's like, hold on a second, maybe you should look at other options. And I got that whole, well, we're not Dallas, we don't need a tiller truck. It's like, well, small towns can use them just as much as big cities can because of the way their streets are made. And it just evolved and just kept evolving and kept evolving. And the more, my passion drove my education.
Okay.
So the more I learned, the more I wanted to learn, and I just kept pushing it to where it's one of those deals where I was making, the shift that I used to be on. I was like, hey, we need to go out and set this address that we saw the other day and see what the deal. And they're like, man, can't we ever just sit down? I was like, no, I don't, not on my truck. We can't. Right. Let's get out there. Let's do that. And I'm with a great group of guys now that they've embraced the fact that I cannot sit still and I don't take naps. And I'm all about, let's get out there and get better, just be better at what we do, and it's all evolved around the truck, and I joke around a lot about it, and everybody does. Engine guys and truck guys, we banter, and that's just the way it is. But any good engine man will tell you that he loves a good truck crew, and any good truck man will tell you that he loves a good engine crew, because it has to work that way.
Right.
If you're on that truck and you're doing all that work and your engine is still not getting the job done, it affects the way you do things. You don't want to be in there searching if that engine's dragging ass, and you don't want to be on that roof, and having somebody that doesn't know what they're doing either. So, or waiting for them to open the roof and you're just in there baking,
Right. No, absolutely.
And so I give them a lot of hell, but I really, really appreciate good engine guys. But it's just not for me. It's just one of those things that I did it, as a junior guy, cause you have to progress,
sure.
And I progressed and having the growing up in the firehouse that was, my dad, my grandpa were all, the engine was whatever, that was like JV. If you couldn't be a rescue man, you got put on the engine type deal.
Right.
So I just wanted to be better. I just, and I thought the truck was where it was at. And, there's a lot of firehouses in the city that I work at that the truck's the last thing to get filled up. Guys don't want to ride the truck. They want to bury up and they want to fight fire. And I appreciate that. I love a guy that wants to do that to free me up to do what I want to do.
Right on.
So,
all right. Yeah. First question coming from the audience.
Uh-oh.
And it's from Christopher Snow. He said, see what his icon is. What's your go-to tool on the truck/tiller and why?
I have an assortment of tools, and one of the things that the guys that I work with have found out is there's random tools get put on the truck on a daily basis that I'm trying out and I'm working with. But my go-to right now, because the way my truck is set up, and I'm going to refer to this a lot, and it's just the way it is my driver. I say my driver because he drives the front and I just get drug around and just keep from hitting things. And he's got more time on than me, and he's a great fireman and he's a great truck man. But I refer to him as my driver, but I don't mean any disrespect by that, and he knows that. But I don't want anybody else to think that way about me because I'm not like that. We're the outside team. We split our truck inside outside. We run a 4-man truck company.
Nice.
The 2 drivers are the outside team, and our step man or our private or whatever you want to call him, and then our officer are the inside team. So my primary job when I get there is I'm either going to the roof or I'm VESing on the Charlie side if I'm the second in truck, or whatever the case may be.
Sure.
My go-to is like for the longest time I carry a pig on an axe belt that never leaves my hip, which I love. I have an Iron Fox axe now that I'm using intermittently. My buddy Nate Welch over at Fortified Leather, he made me a interchangeable scabbard for either one of the 2. So, shout out to that dude. He does great work, but I can switch in and out. But primarily I like that 8-pound pig. And then my long tool is a Colorado hook. And if anybody's not familiar with that, it's a rubbish hook on one end and a New York hook on the other end. And it's a 6-foot steel bar that works great, for either type of roof.
So like on a rubbish, is it more like a pitchfork, on the flattened out pitchfork? Is that what you mean by rubbish hook? Or
yeah, like the trash hook or it's got the two prongs. It's a combination of East Coast and West Coast is what it is.
Okay.
I got my rubbish hook on one end and then I got my New York on the other end. So essentially either end I'm using, I have a D handle on the other end to grab with, and then I can sound good with that rubbish hook and then flip and pull boards with that New York hook. And it works good for me.
Nice. Okay.
And then I recently I got me a 6-foot Lockwood hook that I use too, that depending on the structure that we're on, I'll either grab that Lockwood or that Colorado hook and just go to town with those.
Nice.
But those are my go-tos as far as manual tools go. And then of course the chainsaw.
There you go. And it really depends on you sizing up the building, what you're actually going to grab on that ride.
Absolutely. And my Colorado hook is married to a 30-inch Pro Bar. Okay. So if I'm going to the roof, I unhook it real quick and drop it at the bottom of the ladder. But if I'm, like I said, if we're second in truck and I know I'm VESing, I got that 30-inch Pro Bar. I'm still waiting on my TSR Halligan, but it is what it is. But I got that Pro Bar and I got that hook. I can use that hook for good extended leverage, for mechanical advantage, pulling bars and things like that. So it's married to that and it stays that way. Unless I go to the roof, then I drop it on the ground.
Nice. Okay, perfect. Mark Combs said heavy pig for the win.
Yeah.
Rob Duplessis, sorry, forgive me guys. I'm a captain at a station that cross-staffs a 104-foot Quint. I've completely embraced it and was curious how to integrate a truck company culture at an all-engine culture department.
That's just it, man. That's the whole reason for the Twisted Truckie thing is, I totally get it. The Quint concept in execution has left a little bit to be desired. Some places, St. Louis killed it. They did a great job at it. They had a good run at it, but even they have decided that, it's confusing. You're half of neither, or, you're half of both, but all of neither.
Yes.
Right. So, and, you can always extend hose lines, but you can't extend that ladder, so you have to actually start training, your guys. Hey, listen, this has to be positioned at every call. You can't park this truck. It is a truck. You treat it like a truck, and then you can always pump water as much as you need to. Most pumps have 1250 or 1500 GPMs nowadays, especially on a Quint if you have a pre-piped waterway. So you're going to, you just tell them, listen, we have to start focusing more on the truck work. Yeah, we can stretch lines and pull lines, and the engine guys are probably mad as hell right now. But that's the whole thing is you have to understand that the truck part of that doesn't give. There's no real flex in that. If you're pulling pre-connects, you can have a 150 or a 250 or whatever. You can have your Minuteman loads or your garden apartment lays or whatever you want to have. But that ladder doesn't get any bigger. Throwing ladders doesn't get any easier. All that stuff, you have to start embracing the truck culture and push past that. and get buy-in from them. If you get buy-in from these younger guys, you know, especially these guys are, you know, the Y generation, you know,
Yeah. Tell
well,
me
why,
why.
you know, why do we have both? Why can't we have an engine in a truck and leave our shit on the floor? And if we need to, as a truck, get on the truck, or, hey, listen, we have to do more with less. That's the way it is. That's the nature of our business. You know, we have trouble getting this, so we got to quit instead of an engine in a truck. Oh, like, big deal. So we start position it that way. You know, when you go to your automatic fire alarms, your medical assists, you know, as an officer, jump out of that rig and tell him, look, can you set that stick here? Can you do this? Can you effectively scrub the address that you went to for this medical run? Can you do this? If not, when that ambulance leaves or whatever, when the call is cleared, show me how you would do that. You know, take that time. You're there.
Yes.
You know, don't leave. You still own that area, right? The scene is still yours. Turn that truck around, back it in, find a good scrub area, and then remember that. Get the crew out and show them why, hey, if we park here, we can get all of this, except for maybe the first and second floor all the way over here, but we have ground ladders for that.
Right.
You know, don't just leave any incident without learning something. You know, you're not just there to ho-hum around and say, hey, hold on, partner, the ambulance will be here in a minute. Get out and learn something from each incident and get buy-in from your guys. You know, ask them the questions. Ask them easy questions. You know, don't throw a bunch of complex stuff at them right out of the gate, or they're gonna be intimidated by it, and they won't want to learn. You know, but ease them into it, and they'll appreciate things like that. And once, you know, again, let that passion drive their education, let it drive their knowledge. You know, so they want more. Don't make them feel like it's a homework assignment. Make them feel like they're just getting better at their job, and show them that. Appreciate them for that, and they'll like it.
Nice. Do you find when you do it right, and you like you say, you may get that ownership from them, that they start driving it?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
They take off with it. I mean, like I said, I'm blessed. You know, I talk with a lot of guys around the country, and, you know, and they explain the problems that they're having at their department, and, you know, they're running 3-man crews, or they're doing, you know, different things, and I don't have that. You know, I'm lucky to have a dedicated truck company. You know, the 4 guys that ride my truck are there every day. And I have a 5th guy who's an alternate, who's our paramedic, because our paramedics rotate onto the ambulance. But the rest of us are not, well, we're not active paramedics anymore. We're all still paramedics, but we don't ride the ambulance. Mm-hmm. So every day I have the same crew. We all have the same positions. You know, if the officer is off on the engine, neither one of the drivers from the truck will go over and ride up. We'll let one of the engine guys ride up, and we maintain the integrity of the truck.
Nice.
So that works out great for us. And that's a problem that some folks have that I don't. And I don't take that for granted. And I try to get all of our guys on board, you know, and they want that buy-in, and they want that ownership, because, like I've said before, is a lot of guys are like, well, you know, how do you select riding assignments on the truck? And it's like, well, we don't. You're assigned to it, and that's your ride. But when one of us are off and someone wants to ride the truck, they immediately get hit by me with questions. They're like, oh, hey, you know, hey, I wanted to ride the truck today. And it's like, oh, that's cool. What's the operating pressure of the airbags? Well, all right, get on the engine, come see me next shift, you know, and we'll work on it.
Right.
You know, if you come to me and I ask you a question, and I don't ask hard questions, I ask simple stuff for the most part. But the position that they ride in is probably the most autonomous position on the truck. Our FRO, the step man, he a lot of times at structure fires will operate independent of everybody. You know, he's going to go in and do a primary search and start looking for the seat of the fire. And sometimes he has to do that without the officer. While the officer's getting things squared away, waiting for that first in chief, he's all by himself. So I can't hold your hand at that point, you know, telling you, yeah, okay, now you're going to go in and go this way. And, you know, you're going to go in and go this way, or you're going to do this and you use this hook to pull this ceiling. Can't have that. So I get that from them, and I get it to where it becomes a competition. You know, I do a lot of things, you know, I teach on the side, and then I'll accidentally bring some of my props to the fire station, you know, and it's like, oh, what is this for? Oh, this is a forcible entry door. And then it's one of those deals. It's like, hey, by the end of the day, it's like, oh, whoever can't get through this door fastest has got to do the dishes, you know, and it becomes, you know, I get all that from them. And it's like, and I'll tell them, look, if you're good at this, your chances of riding the truck are that much better. I don't want people that just ride the truck, because our trucks are just like everybody else's trucks. They're slower than the engines. Our ambulance does about 30 calls a shift. And our engine is right behind them, about 25 calls a shift. And the truck probably does 10. So they'll get a break, from that ass whipping from the ambulance. They want to ride the truck the next shift. I'm more than happy to give you that opportunity, but give me a reason to put you on the truck other than to get some rest. Nice. And so they want that buy-in. They want to come to me and say, hey, guess what I did? Or, hey, look, hey, I threw the 28 by myself today. Oh, perfect. And it becomes a competition with my guys. And then that buy-in, they just take off with each other. Even if I'm not there, it's like, I'll find out, hey, one of them had everybody outside and had the entire ladder bed emptied, and they were doing their thing. And I'm like, well, what happened? Oh, well, we had a race to see who could set, 7 ladders at once or whatever, and they want that. And they come back to me and they tell me that, like, right when I walk in the door, so I know that I'm getting that buy-in. And once you get that from them, like you said, it takes off.
Right.
It becomes contagious. And then they start dogging the other trucks at fire. Hey, why'd you park there? Hey, why'd you do that? That's a terrible job, and then the other trucks are like, well, where would you have parked?
Right.
And it just
sparks that discussion, and you need to get it going.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I love it. Sorry, while you were talking, Zoom popped up and told me that they were going to cut our meeting off in the next 10 minutes unless I gave them money, and I was like, oh crap! So I had to go give them money real quick. That's what I was doing, not. So that was my
sorry.
Bad. No. It's never happened. I think they I don't know what they changed, but I didn't know about it till just now. Another question for you, which is an awesome answer, by the way, man. I love everything about the buy-in. What truck? This is from Brian LaFleur. He asked, "What truckie skill do you consistently see lacking?"
Oh, man, that's a great question. And again, I speak for Texas because. No, I don't speak for the state. I speak because of this is where I try to maintain Texas as far as teaching and getting out and spreading the word or whatever. But one of the things that I see a lot of, and it's changing, we're getting there, is our ground ladder skills. It's something that has kind of gone. I don't want to say gone away, but the importance of it has disappeared.
Yeah,
and it's like we get somewhere and we start throwing ground ladders and people are like, what are you doing? Why are you putting ladders there? It's like, well, for my department, and again, I don't speak for my entire department or anybody, but there are times when we have fires in a 2-story, a good Victorian home over on the east side, that 115-year-old house, and it's getting it. The second floor is on fire, and we'll send 2 or 3 engine companies up there, to go fight this fire, because they're going to be there a minute,
right.
And the truck has either set one ladder or the aerial to the roof, and I got 15, 20 guys in that house, and I'm running around stealing ladders off of engines to throw ladders, and I firmly believe the whole throw ladders till you don't have ladders or you don't have windows concept, so I'll just start throwing ladders. And I've been asked before, why do you have a ladder at every window? And I tell them, it's like, if something goes wrong, I've got 15 people in there that have to find a way out.
Right.
I don't want that to be an issue.
Right.
I want them to be able to know that truck that I'm on is outside. So if all they got to do is get to a window and there's going to be a ladder, give them that peace of mind so they can operate and they can focus on being solid engine guys and not worry about, if things go to shit, how am I getting out?
Right on.
They know it's there. Dude, and that's it.
That's a solid mindset, man. And you may go your whole career, hopefully, and never actually need them. I mean, that would be ideal.
Yeah. It's like pulling a crosslay if you don't need it. You just put it back. And my one of the things that I do, and it may not be nice or whatever, but I throw all my ladders to the Alpha side. And then I'll go steal other people's ladders and throw them on the Bravo and Charlie side, because it's fun to watch them look for their shit at the end of the fire.
When it's all set, everybody's packing up.
They're like, man, what happened to our 24? I'm like, oh man, I don't know. I think I see somebody drag that around back. I don't know.
But it's over there on Charlie.
Yeah, man.
Awesome.
Go find it.
Well, I'm finding the next question for you.
Brian's a solid dude, by the way. He's a good guy.
He works some leather too, doesn't he? Works some leather pretty good. Pretty good skills with the leather. 104-foot quint. Got that one. Do you leave your tools on Brian Block? Brian Block is asking, do you leave your tools on the tiller for all shifts or just use it on your shift?
Well, Brian's one of my firemen. He's a good dude. He's one of our paramedics.
Okay.
He gets to ride the truck on occasion. But like I said, it's pretty much dedicated. And the thing about my tools is a lot of them, like the hooks and things like that. I've gotten so many different tools over the years that I leave a lot of them there. And I bought a pig like right when they came out. I was like, this thing's amazing. So I started using it. And at first I left it on the truck, but then after a while, after like that, maybe that first Christmas, I don't know, after the first big event, maybe Father's Day or whatever it was, there's like 5 pigs on my truck now. I was like, there's more pigs than there are firemen.
Right.
So, and like I said, mine's in its own axe scabbard and everything else. So I used to leave it in the tiller compartment for the tillerman, but now, he takes mine out and puts his in when at shift change.
Okay.
So, it's one of those, and I had a little, like, I think it's a 4-foot, Talon hook. My captain has reconned that. He has found that to be his favorite. So he kind of took that from me.
He acquired it.
Yeah. But that's okay because I have my set of tools, and that's just something that I bought that I wanted to play with and see how it worked and what I liked and didn't like. And he likes it and he uses it a lot. So I'm happy for that, No, but for the most part, I leave it on there except for, my pig's my baby. So it gets taken off the truck with me and put up next to the rest of my gear.
Love it. Tony Nunez says the houses we run medical calls to most of the time are, in my opinion, the more important homes to get it right when we have to. We already know there is a multiplier not in our favor. Utilize the opportunity. So touching on what you said about the
absolutely, man, absolutely. It's embarrassing when you can sit at the kitchen table and someone rambles off an address and everybody at the table knows what it is. But then when you ask them, hey, how many windows are on the Charlie side? No one's got an answer. And I think that's unacceptable at our level of operating, especially if you're on a dedicated truck company. Hey, where was the gas meter at when you walked to that house 17 times last month? You should know where that's at, man. That's our job. Those are our bread and butter tasks, So yeah, you got to take advantage of those opportunities.
Solid. Some good ones. What Travis McCool asked, what ground ladders do you expect to be single man throws?
We have on our older trucks, we have the not so lights, the old Alkalite truss ladders.
Right on.
The 28 is 114 pounds, and my shift, and I'm probably the smallest guy on my truck, and I can throw that 28 by myself. And I always tell everybody, I'm not going to ask you or require you to do anything that I can't do,
right? Because
that's an unrealistic, expectation. But we've switched to the duo safeties.
Nice.
Everything is a lot lighter, and we're pushing for, we have the one section 35s, the one fly 35s,
okay,
one fly 28s, and then 20 and 18-foot straight ladders, and 16 and 14 double hook roof ladders.
Double hook both ends.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
And then now our new tillers have 45-foot Bangor ladders on them. So
wow.
Just because a lot of the new apartment complexes that are coming up, we don't have access with our trucks.
And is Dallas is the Metroplex like the king of the multifamily apartment garden style? I mean, holy crap.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And we've had several incidences before where, the only way we were getting to these people is by splicing ground ladders. And that's, as simple as it is, and when you learn it, how easy a skill it is, it's just kind of frowned upon by our administration.
Sure.
So, until we can educate everybody and become safer at it and make it a good, solid practice, the only real answer was to get, because we have the ladder space. We have the tunnel space on the tillers to throw that 45-foot back in there and use it, and it'll work great. It's just one of those things that we kind of got away from that we really didn't need to. That's just my opinion, but everything now.
How many guys does it take to raise a 45-foot banger?
We can do it with 4.
Okay.
And it is with the Alkalite or the duo safeties. I'm sorry, it's easy with 4.
Okay.
It's 240 pounds,
Whew.
but again, technique and getting reps in is a big deal.
Yeah, have to be
Again,
with that thing.
that one section 35, especially when you can pull it out of that ladder tunnel. On all of our trucks, you pull it out of the ladder tunnel and you can low shoulder carry it just because of where it's at.
Right.
You know,
They're all beam. They're
so,
all on beam.
yeah.
Oh, nice.
So you just slide it out, low shoulder it, and run with it, and do what you need to do. If you need to, spike it up against the wall and set it, whatever you need to do to make it happen. But we practice better technique. So the newer ladders, the 35s are a one person throw. But our older ladders, the 28s are kind of pushing it for our shorter folks. But we can throw 28s all day long, one person. So, I mean, I don't expect everybody to be able to do it, but I expect everybody to try it, practice it. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But,
right.
Try to get out there and get good technique, get good fundamentals, and start throwing more ladders.
Solid, dude. Yeah, no, I mean, nothing's going to beat reps. So,
yeah.
100%. John Ryan Buchan, I'll get it right. I'll butcher it too. I'm sure you get more companies on a fire than most, but how does confirmed entrapment change fireground operations with your company?
We will switch immediately. The first two trucks go to a straight all rescue mode. The engine companies, we have confirmed entrapment. The engine companies still push through it, and water always wins. You take the heat away, you open it up, it increases survivability. But for us, where I'm at, the first two trucks will be an all hands rescue type of situation. That'll get us 8 guys, and on a fire where we have a working fire and confirmed entrapment, depending on the type of structure, it will either be an automatic second alarm, which is 2 more truck companies. Nice. and a heavy rescue company, which is basically our dedicated. There are USAR guys and there are dedicated rescue company, and they do a lot of their advanced RIT training. So
right on.
I'm lucky. We're spoiled. We get hands on.
You get bodies on scene. Yeah.
We can definitely make it happen with the people that we get, and we've been pretty fortunate. A lot of times we get in and out pretty quick. And that first truck will usually grab them, or hell, even we've even had first in engines grabbing them. They'll split their crews and put 2 on the line and grab it and go in and search. And they're we've had engine companies pulling folks out in the front yard when we pull up as the first truck. So we do put people first. Some of the most aggressive firefighters in the country are in Dallas, Texas, and I firmly believe that. But our engine guys, when the time comes for them to choose people or fire, they're going to go for the people first and try to get that grab.
Solid. Rich Anderson said, when you start training someone up to be on the truck, what is the first skill you like to start with?
One of the things that I think is the most important, because depending on what position we're going to prepare them for, and like I said, the low man on the totem pole for us is our inside guy. So he's doing primary search with and without a camera, and he's looking for the seat of the fire. So he's looking for a lot of stuff. But one of the things that I always focus on first, and this is just me, and it may not be for a lot of other folks, but I focus on building construction. Because nice. Like I said, he's an autonomous person. When he gets off the rig, he splits from the officer. The officer does his 360 and does his thing, gives a good size up, paints a good picture for everybody, and he's alone for a few minutes. So he needs to be able to read that building, read the conditions, read the smoke, figure out where he's going to go, how he's going to do his job, how he's going to perform that great primary search, because it's all about people for him. Get in there and find people. If there's no people, find fire, right? And if you don't know where you're going and you can't orient yourself based on the type of construction it is,
mm-hmm.
You're not looking for survivable spaces. You're not looking for those things. You're just going in a house and going left or right based on how far the door is on one end of the house or the other.
Nice.
So I try to, that's where we go with, hey, listen, if it looks like this, here you are, ranch style house, big windows, little windows, blah, blah, blah. Fire's going this way, but the wind's going this way. Where are you going in at? What are you going to do? What's your priorities?
Right.
How are you going to get these people out if you get back here in this back bedroom? and different things like that, but I think building construction is it's a huge part of truck ops.
No, dude. Yeah.
So,
Firefighting, period. I think, yeah, but
yeah,
truck ops especially. But yes.
you got to know your enemy. Frank Brannigan, know your enemy, man. When you go in there, you got to understand what it's going to do and how it's going to work. So, we start from that. And then as he learns the other things, as he learns, how to read a building for throwing ground ladders, he'll look at a pier and beam structure and be like, okay, it's pier and beam. It's probably an 80-inch door. I got a 2 to 3 foot offset from the ground to the bottom of the floor. So I got a 9-foot soffit. Okay. So I'm going to get my 16 instead of my 14. I'm going to do, and it's all based off of what he learned off of building construction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then he goes into the fire behavior aspect when he gets on the roof and he starts cutting holes.
Love it.
So these things have to happen in order to be a good truck guy. They have to happen to be a good engine guy. But in order to be that guy that can go and be the problem solver, you got to know what you're up against. So that's what I focus on. Some folks may, they may do other things first, but you got to learn the building.
Nice. I'm trying to find the next one. How important? I'll get to that in a minute, Eddie. I got a question coming up for him on mentoring. Mustache of K. Lewis is in here. The Mustache of K. Lewis is an actual person in here asking questions, and he said, "Has to be one of your guys, man. That's awesome." If I'm assigned to a Quint, can I still do hero shit? That was the question.
That's got to be one of my guys.
Yeah.
And if it is one of my guys, of course you can still do hero shit, man. As long as you can do your job, like I tell people, when you as far as tool selection goes, and the truck's the same way. I don't care what tools you use, as long as you're extremely proficient with them and you're effective, right? So, yeah, sure. If you can show up on a 75-foot Quint and still do the same work as somebody that that's on a dedicated dry truck, hell yeah, man. What you show up in doesn't dictate how you put fire out. And a lot of the people that I teach to, especially in Texas, is the smaller departments that are doing these multi-function company roles. They're an engine for 5 minutes, and then they're a truck for 10 minutes, and then they go back to being an engine. Absolutely. Because when you show up at somebody's house in your, commercial cab that's 42 years old, and you still got brass couplings or whatever, they don't care. They expect you to be as good as somebody from a big city that's got a $2 million ladder truck. So you damn well better be able to do hero shit on whatever you show up. You could bail out of the back of a pickup truck, and they're going to expect you to perform just like anybody else. So absolutely, man.
Nice. I have to write that timestamp down so I can use that later. That's beautiful. Great answer. As a truck company, do you carry a water can while you search, or is it hand tools only, or what's your preference?
We do. We have a water can for quick access, and depending on how the structure's set up and where the engine company's at when we pull up, the water can does go in with that inside guy with the step man. He'll snatch it. It's got the little shoulder strap, and he'll take that with whatever he's searching with and his tick, and he goes in. And if he can stop it, or if he can put it in check, drop down the BTUs a little bit and shut that door or whatever, then he's all about it. He doesn't go into engine guy mode by any means, but if he can disrupt that flow path a little bit to give somebody some safe space until we can get to him, yeah, he's all about it.
Nice. Very good, very good. Great questions tonight from the audience, by the way. I've very, very good, and I mean, you're killing them. Kobe Keller has a comment, not a question, but it's a good one, so I'll read it to you. Being a younger guy in the fire service and seeing the passion guys like you and Captain LaFleur have makes me excited. I hope to be that guy in 30 years and give the new guys the same excitement. So
that's awesome, man. Me too.
100%,
everybody
100%.
Everybody wants their replacements to be better than them, man.
That's the goal. I wanted to ask you on building construction. You've been into doing this 27 years, and I mean, I know everybody noticed, but the amount of knowledge drop off of the newer generations entering the fire service, not coming from the trades.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's harder to explain. We actually did a vent class yesterday, and I was trying to explain how the ridge beams work and ridge vents, and and I was getting this look like, what I don't understand what you're saying. So we cut the hole, we laid it open, and I said, okay, this is what it used to look like, because it was a house that had two different types of construction on the roof.
Nice.
It had been re-roofed and stripped, and it's like, look, some of your houses are going to look like this, and you can tell by, you know, when you sound it, and you know, the ridge vent and all this other stuff, and it just wasn't there. But you had some of their older guys, you know, some of them weren't even officers, you know, that, you know, they're drivers and they're senior firemen, are like, listen, you know, building construction, you know, used to be like this, and we used to use real wood and real plywood, and now it's this stuff, and and going through it and putting it together, you know, it's like, because you don't, you know, like I tell people all the time, I don't know what you don't know. So I don't want to question your intelligence, but if I'm talking to you and I see you kind of check out, it's like, okay, I got to come back and
there's
like, okay,
the clue.
yeah, here, this is OSB. This is not plywood, you know, and break it down and explain to them, you know, why it's changed and why it's different and why, you know, but there's a huge deficiency in that. You know, there's a lot of, you know, we even back at the station, you know, something breaks down, you know, they're like, oh, well, we need to call building services. It's like, man, it's a broken sink. Get the tools.
Right.
You know,
right. No, I'm with you. No, it's not a complaint even. It's just
moment right here, man. We're going to show you how this works. We're going to, you know, and we could call it truck training, because we're going to go cut the water off, which is a utilities control.
Right on.
And we're going to, you know, we're going to go do that, and we're going to break it down to where you can feel like it's firefighting training, but it's really just life training. You know, it's adulting, man, and we'll get you there, you know, and it's, they won't tell you that. They won't tell you that they don't know that.
Right.
So you gotta pull them into it, and that's why I was telling earlier. It's like, throw the softballs at them, man. Ask them the easy questions, and then they'll lead you to what they do and don't know, because they'll answer the easy ones, and then the other ones are like, well, you know, it's whatever. You know, we would do whatever you say, kind of thing.
Right.
Like, that's
right.
not what I'm
after.
For,
yeah. No, and it's very important to let them know it's okay to not know something, man. I know that sometimes, you know, they get mocked or made fun of, and then it just completely destroys any chance of learning as they check out. It's completely, you know, and that's up to the person. You know, I know, preaching to the choir, but absolutely.
I hate
that. Okay, I've got here. I had another one that was, does a stash, this is from William Van Brimmer. So he says, does a stash that majestic, this might be one of the next 5 questions for firefighters, but it's for right now. It's, does a stash that majestic come from going to more fires or learning more fire knowledge?
Man, I don't know. I don't feel like I've done enough firefighting or I've got enough knowledge. So I'm not really sure what happened. You know, it just happens that way, I guess. You know, it picks a few of us.
Nice. Brian Block wants to know, is ladder splicing a lost art?
I believe so. I actually took my crew out one day on a Sunday, which wasn't their favorite thing to do, but I have a checklist, and I'm sure most people do. And what it is it's for the guys that don't typically get to ride the truck. It's a daily check. You know, it's like Mondays we'll raise the cab, we'll raise the aerial, you know, and then it's a rundown of how to check these, how to check, you know, how to grease it, how to do all this. And then Tuesday is this, and you know, Wednesday. Well, Thursdays is our ground ladder day.
Okay.
And every Thursday, we pull everything out of the truck, we clean it down, we inspect it, we repaint the tips if they need it. You know, we'll wax the extension ladders, you know, check the halyards, we do everything. And then once a month, we get them all out and we fly all of them. You know, we climb them, we check them, we, you know, just do everything. And we missed it on a Thursday because of the weather in Texas. It's terrible sometimes, but so we went out on a Sunday. And we went, and I told him, I was like, we're going to go through every ladder on the truck. So we started out, we have a little 7-foot roof ladder, a little VES ladder that we made. We got that out, and I showed them how we would use that and how we would get people out with it and use it, you know, basically like a sked if we needed to.
Sure. And
then we got our little Fresno ladder out. Then we got the 14s out, and everybody threw them. You know, we did some flips, we did some trombone raises, you know, and then we got to the 28, and the 28 kind of slowed everybody down because we did one person throws at the 28. And then we got our 35-foot out with the 16, and we spliced it. And I just did one evolution where we threw it, we set it, I raised it up, I set it up, and I tied it off, and I showed them how to tie it. And I said, this is here. This is for you guys in your toolbox. You know, don't ever forget this. This is not something you're supposed to be taught or something that's you know, practiced commonly in our area, but it's coming. And I don't want you guys to miss the opportunity to be able to do your job to its fullest extent,
Right.
you know,
And
because you didn't
understand this
think about
underlying concept. Yes.
yeah, here it is. And my buddy Matt Sapp from Frisco Fire Department, which is just to the north of us, he brought it into a couple of different classes a while back. We were doing some stuff for the Frontier Fools, just doing some firemanship stuff for some fundraisers, and we brought that out and we set it up and we started doing that. And it's like everybody in the area was like, "Why aren't we doing that?"
Right.
And it's like, well, we don't know why we're not doing it. It's something that used to be taught in fire academy, you know, bridging aerials and ladder splicing and all that stuff used to be taught. And now it's just kind of like, that's dangerous. It's like, well, our job is dangerous,
yes.
you know, and
yes.
I joke around about that. You know, it's like, it says so on the inside of your coat,
right.
that firefighting is inherently dangerous. So, you know, but if you get good enough at it, you take a lot of that risk away. So just keep practicing it and, you know, do reps. You don't have to splice to the 6th floor every time you do it. You don't have to get your biggest ladders and splice, you know, do a 24 and a 14 and splice to the 3rd floor. Get the reps in, get practice tying that off and becoming secure and getting comfortable climbing that extension ladder at that steep rate and knowing your limitations of your roof ladders. Right, you know, that 1,000-pound rating for each hook is a lot of weight, but you have to be comfortable with it.
Sure.
You know,
sure.
So, and it has, I think it's one of those things that as people came in charge, if you want to put it that way, they just didn't care for it. Or it was one of those things that maybe they did it in fire school and never wanted to do it again. Well, once they got in charge of a ladder truck or were assigned to something like that, they were just like, we're not going to do that anymore. We don't need that anymore. We have bigger ladders. We have better ladders, blah, 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 whatever the case is. But, you know, you got to be able to revert back to that worst case scenario.
Right on.
You know, we don't just quit because our ladder don't reach. You know,
dude, they're throwing a lot of questions. They got tons of questions coming at you. I hope you're enjoying.
Yeah, man, I love it. I can always talk.
Hey, Kevin, I'm writing the rescue for you right now, so you owe me when you get back to work. That's from Joshua Harvey. Just so you know, he's keeping you informed.
Yeah.
Where'd it go? Question related to ventilation. Can the ridge vent be a viable option for venting an attic space prior to cutting the roof?
It can be. It does help, in my opinion. One of the things that I like to teach people is your options there. You know, if you can recognize the ridge vent, you know that the roof doesn't touch at the top, right? There's that gap.
Right.
So essentially that top cut's already made for you. So if you're behind the power curve, you know, that you know, there's a couple couplings already in the front door and that smoke's still acting crazy. When you get up there, you know, I was like, you know, just go ahead and rip about 3 or 4 vertical cuts. You know, all you got to do is go past 4 feet, right?
Yes.
You make 3 or 4 vertical cuts past that 4-foot mark and then rip one across the bottom. You've essentially made a 6 or an 8 foot wide dice cut. Just start dropping them louvers.
Yeah, start louvering, and go. Yeah.
And you saved yourself that little bit of time, but you got to recognize
the vent. Yeah.
The vent. You know,
nice. I never even thought about it. That's beautiful.
That absolutely that can help you, man. And that's one of those things that you really need to look into when you're getting on that roof. Again, it goes back to building construction prior to learning the truck skills.
Nice.
Because you know when you know when to use them, and then you figure out how to use them, you know, it's going to work out for you.
You just come full circle, brings it right back to it. I love it, man. Chief Garrett Rice says, blueprint Kevin Lewis as what a senior man is supposed to be. Nothing but respect, brother. So high praise from a good man. So there you go.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Back at you, Chief. I love what you do, and I love how you run your department. And I just what I want to be is I want to be somebody that gives back like he does. You know, amazing. Him and Chief Combs, both of them solid dudes. Solid. I want to be like that when I grow up.
John Ryan Buchan wants to know, should the Pompier ladder make a comeback?
You know, this is a personal answer. Hell yeah. You know,
there you go.
And it's just me because again, it's a skill. And if you look around the country, you know, it's a dying art. They're still making them, and they're starting to make a comeback as far as being made. I don't know about being put onto apparatus, but they're being made. But when you look around the world, people still use ladders for scaling outside of buildings. You know, different countries have different building codes, but the option is there for them. Now, is it going to be our go-to for everything? No, but It's a tool in the toolbox that takes up very little space. So why not? Throw it on the truck. I mean, you got so much use. Some of these places have so many useless items on the truck.
No doubt. Preach.
We fill compartment space. This is like, oh, look, we got a new truck that's got 300 cubic feet of storage, but we only got 100 cubic feet of shit.
Let's get some widgets.
Useless crap to throw. Let's stack more crap in there. Well, how about we find stuff that works for us? That I don't know, something like the Pompier ladder that worked for 160 years before we took it off the truck. Put it back on there. Teach it. Take the risk away, right? Educate your firemen on it. Let them use it. Give them the opportunity to have it when the situation arises. Why not?
Love it. There you
go. That may just be me, but
may just be a guy that loves any form of ladder.
Absolutely.
All Hell Reps said, all hell the scrap. Thank you, absolutely. All Hell Reps. Thanks for being here. Okay, back to my questions because we have caught up with the audience. I think we've covered a lot of this. Twisted Truckie Training. You kind of explained why you started it. You want to go into any of that at all, or? Man,
it's just Texas again. When I got here, I came from the Midwest where there was a pretty good ladder culture. And then the West Coast obviously has a really strong ladder culture. And then I got to Texas, and it was just like, well, the truck just doesn't have priority. The engine has priority because water always wins. And it's like, I get that, but the truck guys got to be good at what they do.
Right.
Because fire ground support is everything but fire suppression. Those are all truck skills. So the truck's got to be able to do that, So I wanted to start pushing forward. And there's guys around that they teach great classes. Again, Chief Combs, Chief Rice, man, they teach great classes on forcible entry, ground ladders. It's like they're getting it out there. But where they're located and a lot of their area was north of where I'm at. I'm in between Dallas and Waco is where I live.
Okay.
I'm way further south than they are. And there's a lot of smaller volunteer, the rural departments that don't have the training budgets, that don't have, those opportunities to get in on that solid training. So I just started going out and talking to people and doing things and asking them questions about, hey, what do you guys do on, a 2-story house fire where there's people trapped on the second floor? How do you get to them? And they're like, well, we don't know. It's like, well, that's not really how you're supposed to think, and then I go into that whole thing like we talked about. They don't care what you show up in. I want you to be a proficient firefighter. So right. I start giving little, and I teach at a county school that's free. It's an annual school and it's free for all the volunteers in the area. And I started a truck ops class. And the first year I had like 3 people show up, and they're like, we're not really sure, because it's in June in Texas. And they're like, we heard that this class has got like vertical vent and forcible entry and search and rescue. And it's like, man, it's a lot to go into like a 12-hour day or whatever. It's like, yeah, well, I'm only going to go as fast as you guys are.
Right.
This isn't Marine Corps boot camp. I'm not trying, I don't want you leaving here not wanting to come back. So if all we get through is basic ground ladders and maybe a little bit of conventional forcible entry, then so be it.
Right on.
We'll move past that. And then it got to where it's like, man, there's really it's just non-existent. Even some of the fire departments in the area that have ladder trucks, quints, whatever, whatever. You ask them, hey man, what's your first due assignment? And they're like, oh, we get a backup line and we follow the engine in. It's like, well, who does search? Well, we don't. It's like, man. Hold on a minute. It's in the book, right? Life safety.
Yeah, it's right there. It's the big right? L. Yeah, the big L, not man. The loser, the big L, life. Yeah.
Where do you see backup line on that? It's like, and then it just kind of progressed. And it's like, I started looking at other people and how they're doing things. And then I just started teaching. And then, I got to talking to folks that are, I call it in the circuit, guys that go, like you that go out and you teach and you do all this other stuff. And I'm like, how do you do this? How do you organize things like this? And because I'm young to this, I've been in the fire service for a while, but this is, I've been doing this for a half a year now. So gotcha. Yeah, I don't really, and I'm like, well, how do you do this? And they're like, man, you need to get an LLC. You need to be able to protect yourself in case you do something or say something that gets somebody hurt. And I'm like, okay, well, whatever, I'll do that. And then like, well, then you just go out there, man, just put yourself out there, So I did. I was like, okay, well, I'm going to do this. I'm going to start going to classes and just getting to know people and just see how things, I don't know how this works. So I'm just
Right.
going to go talk to guys. I'm going to go, because, and if you go to a class or you go to a presentation or a conference or whatever you want to call it, a lot of times you're going to learn just as much, if not more, away from the classroom, just being around other firemen, because
Dude, I'm
they
telling you,
will
yes.
open up.
The culture, yeah, yes.
Yeah, at the conference, you
I'm
get a whole lot of
addicted to
that.
conferences for that very reason you're talking about.
Absolutely.
So,
You're like, oh, during the conference, they're all like smiling and nodding. They're like, hell yeah, that's exactly. And then when you talk to them about it after, they're like, yeah, because one time we did this, and for 3 hours and several beers later, you're solving the world's problems.
100%.
So
best friends. That's the other part.
Absolutely. You make more friends. I have so many, like you. I have so many Facebook friends that I want to go hang out with and train with, and it's like, these guys are awesome. I just want to get out there and get some reps in with them.
No, it's amazing, man. The networking and the knowledge. So sorry, go ahead.
I signed up for a Frontier Fools class. They were having a saws class. It's like everything saws, forcible entry and ventilation, and I signed up for it. And then before the class started, Eddie Steele contacted me. He's like, hey man, what are you doing on this weekend? I was like, man, I'm going to that Frontier Fools class. I'm going to that saws class. He's like, well, there's a guy bringing a tiller truck down, and they're going to do all these evolutions off of the ladder, off the aerial. And they were like, well, we need a tillerman. And he's like, your name popped up. So I was like, I'm there.
I'm your man. I'm your guy.
Would you be willing to teach? And I was like, well, I kind of wanted to go to, to learn. I was trying to learn, but if you need me, hell yeah.
Right.
And then it just kind of spitballed from there, man. And from then on out, it's like, he's talking about, hey, there's training over here. There's training over here. I'm like, man, sign me up. Get me going. Let's go. Let's do this. Whatever I can do to, again, like I said, share what I know so I can learn what I don't, kind of thing.
Yeah. There you go.
I love it.
Love it. Okay. Got some more questions coming at you. BC Matson asked, are tillers the best, or do they exist just to make engine nerds jealous?
He knows the answer to that. That's a rhetorical question.
There you go. Jimmy Gross said, we're about to get our first tiller in Frisco. What do you like and dislike about it? Where can there be improvement?
I've actually had a couple guys from Frisco reach out to me about, maybe coming up and getting a little bit of training. And I've always encouraged it. Like I said, for the longest time, Dallas was, San Antonio bought one for a while, and then it went away because they just got a bad truck, and it was, their streets aren't that great either.
Right.
But we were the only ones that had tillers. Dallas was the only city in Texas that had tillers. And, I started talking to folks, and it's not me by any means that has spread this, but people started learning more about them, and they're realizing that the price difference is not that big in between, if you're going to get a 100-foot tower or a 100-foot tiller, the price difference isn't that great. So you start looking at compartment space. Well, there's 3 times as much compartment space. You look at ladder storage. There's more ladder storage. So the anybody that has ever thought about a tiller truck in Texas that has called me, I've even had some folks from out of state call, and they're like, give me the rundown. I was like, I'll give you the rundown here. I'm sending you videos now of setup times of a rear mount platform, of a mid mount platform, of a straight stick, and of a tiller truck. And you'll notice that the tiller truck setup time is half of these other apparatus.
Wow.
I
had no idea. I had no idea on that. I had no idea.
Yeah, that's not running high idle. That's one person operating. That's doing all the safety stuff, wheel chocks, jack pads, all that stuff. It's that easy, and I do the same thing. I go up, rotate 90, extend it all the way out at 45 degrees or whatever. Same thing on each one, and I'm getting upwards of like 4.5 minutes on some of these towers, and it's barely over 2 minutes with the tiller. So if that's what you want, that's there. Maneuverability, you can't beat it. I challenge anybody to be able to beat the maneuverability of a tiller. My department has recently gotten that TAC 4 T3i suspension in our Pierces, which has got it. Remember, Pierce used to have the all steer. Well, now they have this mechanical version that, once the front wheels turn more than 45 degrees, the back wheels will engage.
Okay.
And turn, and it's great. And it's really good as far as maneuverability goes, but it doesn't outmaneuver the tiller truck. And then again, you lose that compartment space. So anybody that talks about tillers, I'm like, come up to Dallas, come up on a C shift. My captain knows that I do this all the time. And he's just like, yeah, who's it now? Yeah, go ahead. Are we taking them out and letting them drive it? Are we taking them out and showing them the district? And it's like, yeah, well, we'll load a couple of them up, and it's chiefs and officers and people on their truck committee, and we'll take them out and we'll show them, hey, watch this, and they'll see how it maneuvers and how it does things and back it up and turn it and beach it. And we do all this other stuff with it. And then I have a bunch of GoPro videos that I keep just showing them maneuverability.
Right.
And they're like, man, can we use this? Can we take this to city council? I'm like, absolutely. Do what you need to. I want what's best for you guys.
Right.
If you have any questions, holler at me. Let's go look at your district. Maybe you don't need, 315 feet of ground ladders. Maybe you need more. Maybe you need less. Maybe, whatever. Let's go look at it. Maybe you don't need, 4 transverse compartments. Maybe you can get shorter, or maybe you can get lower compartments, and just talk about the whole gambit of it, because you see a lot of folks that will eventually, they're like, oh, I want a tiller truck, but I want a 13-inch bumper, and and it's like the whole purpose of that, man, is to make it shorter, and then you give them the reason why they're effective, and then they start changing the way they build it, and it works out better for them. And like I said, I think I actually have a tillered Quint in my driveway right now that a buddy of mine is letting me use. And that's what I do, is I take it around to people that are interested, and it's like, we'll take it to your town. Let me show you. And I'll tell you what I'll do is I'll even follow your current ladder truck or your current heavy rescue or whatever you have, and we'll go, or they can try to follow me, either way. And we'll show you the difference.
Nice.
How it's going to help your citizens, how it's going to cut down response times, how it's going to do all this stuff,
Let me ask you this, because you're piquing my curiosity, and this is on topic. Me going down the square is because I'm thinking about the chiefs that deal with budgets. What's the maintenance like and things? I mean, I know there's outliers, and you can always get a lemon, et cetera, but
absolutely,
is there a massive cost difference?
No. As a matter of fact, I think it was our recent tiller truck that we just spec'd out versus our last mid-mount tower ladder was a $50,000 difference.
Oh,
the tiller was $50,000 more expensive, and they joke around and tell me that it was because of all the damn ladders that I threw on it. But it's like, whatever. There's not a whole lot of maintenance issue with that.
Right. No, I love it. Okay. Throwing some more at you. Matt Sparky, I think you basically just answered your first question. The second question is from Matt Sparky Powell. Sparky asks you, how long is the initial training for a tillerman?
For us, we do an in-house program, and it's basically like a self-paced deal. We give you opportunities to drive. Like, we have big parking lots. We have lots of traffic cones. We have a big driving area set up at our training tower, and we'll go out there and we run through everything. And as far as Texas goes, the Commission on Fire Protection has a certification for driver operator, and now a driver operator aerial. And they have a driving portion that's coned off, and everything is based on how long the engine is and how far the cones are set apart. So what we've done is the math, and we've just, made the cones further apart for the distance of the tiller truck, because our trucks are 59.5 feet long. So we've adjusted the cones lengthwise for the tiller truck, and we do the forward and backward serpentine, diminishing clearance, lane changing, all that other stuff.
All the red book stuff, right?
Yeah. 3-point turnarounds, which back in the tiller truck is the hardest part. But it goes at their pace. And I will say this, as far as this younger generation, not having a whole lot of maybe technical abilities as far as carpentry or machining or whatever, the fact that they grew up playing video games,
they're killing it.
They are.
That's awesome.
They get it so much faster, because if I tell somebody, listen, when he goes right, you go left, their mind does not calculate that. But this younger generation, they follow the directions like that. And it's like, okay, well, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do that. Turn the wheel this way if you wanted to do this, and they're on it. So they pick it up a lot quicker. But it gives you more time to focus on the why you're doing it. But usually what we do is like a shift-based thing, and we don't actually have a school set forward yet, but we're trying to put together like a truck academy. From newly promoted captains that are assigned to a truck all the way down, the new drivers that are assigned to the truck, because we run the gambit on trucks in my city. We have 23 truck companies. We have 7 tillers. We have 3 platforms, and then we have straight sticks. So depending on where you go, I mean, you could be on a 107-foot rear mount down in a small portion in southeast Dallas that has a lot of big streets, not tight corners, whatever, and then get sent downtown to get drug from the ass end of a tiller truck. Big difference.
Right.
So you do need to be retrained. And it's not a shot at anybody's ego, but it's a whole different world.
Right.
And you just have to accept that and move forward.
Right.
But it's all self-paced for us. And it usually takes about a month, maybe 2 months, depending on our call volume. Because if we're busy, we can't go out of service to do a lot of training as far as that goes. But like I said, in my district, I got a lot of area where, I can take somebody around the block and let them get good at maneuvering and rolling roadblocks and all the fundamentals of tillering, and then put them in the front later. Put them in complete control later, but let them get the tillering aspect down first.
Nice.
So
beautiful. And I will just tell you, tons of people are here asking how to get info. Can we get those GoPro videos? Can we, how do I get info from you to reach out and change my, so I don't want to read all those questions. There's a lot of them that are saying, I need that info so we can get tillers in my city. So I'll just tell you, I'm going to have him share all his contact info that he's willing to share at the end, and we'll go from there. Matthew Ryan Sapp said, Kevin Lewis, the twisted truckie himself, take the hat off and let them locks flow. Solid brother right here. And then Zach Pay said the passion is contagious, man. So he said, Matthew Ryan said, being a driver, it scrolled. I'm sorry, guys. Brian Oswald said, being a driver operator of a 75-foot Quint and listening to him talk about all this truckie stuff has me fired up. And I agree. So,
perfect, man.
100%.
That's all I needed. I'm good.
I think you've nailed every question there. Now, Eddie Steele earlier, we talked about him, President, Frontier Fools, but he had a question for you about mentoring and how important it is for mentoring. Where do you fall on the mentoring scale, and have you had a mentor that's impacted you?
Always. There's so many. And what it is, it's a lot of the informal leaders in the fire department.
Mm-hmm.
When you look for somebody, when you're looking for that leadership, if you're looking for it, you might not get it. But if you just pay attention to what's going on in the firehouse, you'll find out who knows what and who that person is that you need to latch onto. And I've had so many mentors, man. And I just constantly pull a knowledge off of different people because they all came from different aspects of firefighting. And one of my biggest mentors, and I told him this, and he's never believed me. Other than my father, I listen to a lot of stuff, even though he knows that he thinks that I never listen to him.
Right.
And as a 41-year private on my fire department that just recently retired.
Wow.
He grew up fighting fire. Back in the days when we were burning multiple fires a day in every district of the city. He was on a squad company, and our squads back in the 80s were 4 guys on a Suburban. They had a handful of hand tools and a couple air packs in the back of that Suburban, and all they did was jump fires all shift. If it was burning, they had the freedom to go to it. And it was literally, when you got there, you split. 2 of you went with the first in engine, 2 of you went with the first in truck.
Nice.
You did whatever you wanted. You had complete control over everything. And then when you got done, you just left and went to the next fire. You didn't take up. You didn't do any of that other stuff.
Wow.
You may go get a spare air bottle from somebody, and then off you went to the next fire. And everybody that knows me, that works with me, knows that I'm talking about George. And he was just one of those people that when you looked at him, you're like, that guy's probably a liability, because he's really laid back, real easygoing. But he knew everything about everything, literally. And I'll tell you a real quick story about him because I love this. We're also the hazmat team for the city at my fire station. Okay. So we get called to a local hospital, right, for a fire in their radiation lab. So we get sent there as the hazmat team, and it's on the 5th floor. And, there's a lot of smoke blowing out in the hallway, and the first in truck backed out because they got to the fire floor and they saw these big tray foils on the wall,
Right.
said radioactive, and they didn't want none of that. And they called us when we get up there. So me and another guy, being the junior men at the time, they're like, hey, suit up, get up there and find out what's going on. So we literally go up there, we go into this lab, open the door, smoke's everywhere. There's a machine that's on fire. And there's almost zero visibility, but we can see the glow from this machine.
Okay.
And George gets on the radio, and this is my best impersonation of him. He's like, "Hey, what y'all got up there?" And we're like, "Oh God," we're like, "There's this machine. It's got this thing sticking out of it. It's on fire. We can't really tell." And he says, "Hey, hang on a second." So we're like, hang on a second. What the hell is,
right.
We're fixing to back out, and he's like, all right, hey, listen up. I need you to take your left hand and reach around the back side of that thing. And there's a switch. I need you to turn that switch off and then pull this button. So we do it. The fire goes out. This thing shuts down. Everything clears out. And we're like, what in the hell?
Right.
So we back out. We do our thing. We come down. We decon. We go out. And I'm like, George, how in the hell did you know that? And he's like, well, I was on the phone with Steve, and Steve is in Colorado, and he makes those machines. And he knew this dude's first name. The guy just talked him through how to put the fire out. And I was like, holy crap!
Right.
And that's the kind of information and the kind of stuff that he brought to the fire service that we don't have anymore.
Right.
I mean, one, we don't burn as much. One, and we don't do the networking like we should, like he did. He doesn't know a stranger.
Right.
And he gathered so much. We used to joke about him and tell him, look, when you retire, we got to have your phone. If not for us, for the Smithsonian, because there's so much information in that phone,
Right.
And everything he said, if you listen to it, the first 4 or 5 minutes was bullshit just to see if you were paying attention. And then he'd give you those nuggets of things that you needed to learn to become better at your job. And he's probably, as far as Dallas firemen go, he was probably, without knowing it, one of my biggest mentors. So
wow,
I try to do that. I try to pass it, and a lot of people, when you tell them, I want to be the next George, they're like, oh my God, why do you want to be him? He talks all the time. Because he knows what he's doing. He knows the job. Even if there was a point where he wasn't doing the job, he still knew it, and he could set you up for success. Nice. That's where I want to be. Nice. I don't have to be in the forefront of anything. As long as I'm making other people succeed and become better firemen, I'm good with that.
I love it, man. I love it. Dude, the passion is contagious. Someone said it right there. Passion is contagious. That's awesome, man. All right. So I love to ask people, what is a book or books that you think firefighters should be reading? Does not have to be fire book. I'm just saying any book.
Well, I spent 9 years in the Marine Corps. So I read a lot on small unit leadership and war fighting and all that. And, those books are great. A lot of folks will have a hard time correlating military versus the fire service because a lot of fire departments have gotten away from that paramilitary structure. We've gotten away from that organization like that small unit leadership. Mm-hmm. And one of my jobs as the driver, in my opinion, is to keep everything off my officers. If it happens in that firehouse, I can handle it. Because one, I should be able to do the job above mine, which is the company officer.
Right on.
So I should be able to handle all that. And that comes from that small unit leadership stuff. But books that I read, I ordered Nicholas Papa's book, that coordinated ventilation book. Man, I actually stopped watching the scrap about 10 minutes into it to order his book on Amazon.
It's a great book, man.
Man, I mean, everything that you do and everything that you teach, he's got it laid out, man.
No, he's a genius. I mean, I use that use that term. I don't try not to use that term. He's a genius. That book is great.
I was like, holy crap! Some of that stuff that he was talking about, I was like, oh, there's a name for that. There's an actual name for that. That's somebody came up with that. It's just one of those things. I thought, well, shit, I thought this has always happened this way. But yeah, that book, I ordered that. I haven't got it yet, but I ordered that, and I read a lot about building construction. I have right next to me, I have Brannigan's Building Construction, The Art of Reading Buildings, nice. John Mittendorf,
obviously. Yeah, great book.
when he opened up at FDIC a while back and said, you want to get something straight, first of all, real trucks bend in the middle. He had me at that.
I'll read anything you write now.
Yeah, from there on, it's like if he's saying it, is it written in red? I don't know. But I just go for the building construction stuff, fire behavior stuff. Anything. I don't like to read a lot,
right?
But I like to get as much out of what I read as I can. So, articles, editorials, things like that, I'll dive off into those. Don't have a lot of real big books that I, unless there's a lot of pictures, because I am a truck guy.
Truckie, yeah, I love it. Yeah, I have your crayons.
I like pictures, yeah, man. So I don't really read a whole lot, but what I do read, it's all based on something that I think that I can use the minute the bell rings.
Beautiful.
So
love it. No, and great list, great routed list. We have a thing we do on the weekly scrap. It is called the 5 questions for firefighters. Soon, I don't know exactly when. I may pick a date and throw a dart at it. I have to go back and see when I first started doing the 5 questions. And I'm going to probably, when it gets to one, because I think they started in the 20s. So when I get to that centennial 5 questions, that'll be the last one, and we'll bring in the new 5 questions. If I get a good 5 questions to replace it, I've only had like 4 or 5 submitted. So if you have a good question for the next 5 questions for firefighters, send it in to me on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter. I don't care. Get it to me, and so that it can be included or looked at to be included. So anyway, all that being said, Kevin Lewis, are you ready for the 5 questions for firefighters?
Yeah, I'll give it a shot.
All right. Here we go. Number 1. What is the number 1 issue facing the modern fire service?
Honestly, I think it's the disconnect between fire academy training and fire ground training. And I know there's people out there that preach that, but it's hard because like I said, I do teach at a fire academy, but then I go out and I teach career, volunteer, experienced firefighters. And it's like, I have to be able to teach these kids, you got to get the patch to join the club, right? But once you join the club, I don't want you being stupid. I don't want you doing things because that book showed you a picture of it one time, that doesn't work anymore or is so far outdated that,
right.
When you bring that to the firehouse, you're going to get laughed at and then it's going to ruin you.
Right.
So that disconnect is actually hurting us. And I know we get textbooked to death as far as, every other month, somebody's coming out with another essentials book or something like that. But we gotta teach more progressively. Don't teach toward a test. I don't want to teach you how to get the job. I want to teach you how to make it to retirement, So I have to give them that, hey, listen, read your chapter. We're going to go over this. And then when we go out and do hands-on, we're not going to do any of that shit. We're actually going to do what you're going to need to do in real life to make you an efficient fireman, right? To make you better at what you do. And I think it's a big issue. And I wish there wasn't so much weight on the certification coming from one entity to become a firefighter. I would almost like it to be a department driven thing.
Dude, I love that answer. I think that, dude, I hate the fact that instructors have to say stuff like, okay, I got to teach you this because it might be on the test,
Absolutely.
But here's the real thing. Like that is a travesty. That is like the definition of insanity. Okay, max points. In fact, I'll give you bonus points. You can even fall down on another question, and I'll give it max points.
Can I pass on one?
Right. That was dude. I that's one of those things that eats my soul. I'm telling you. What is the thing? And I always say that it's like all these answers are your opinion. 100%. There is no right or wrong, and then the points are completely arbitrary, assigned by me. So, what is the thing you are most excited about for the future of firefighting?
Like we hit on earlier, that this Y generation that's helping us become better, because it used to just be that whole shut up, Rook. That's the way we've always done it.
Right.
Go put the flag out and make me some coffee.
Yes.
And it was just done. But now when you get somewhere and you're training or you're talking about doing something, or if this goes this way, you want to do this. Well, they're the first ones to be like, well, why? Why are we doing it? Why are we using this tool versus this one? Why, why does it have to be on this side? Why are we choosing this way? And then you have to actually be better at your job so you can answer them.
Yes.
You can't come back with that. Well, it's always been that way.
You can't BS them no more.
Yeah, because then you're no better than anybody else. So they're going to go look for leadership and mentoring from somebody else, and then you've lost. Yeah. Because if you lose that buy-in, you've lost. So I think that's helping us a lot. They're so inquisitive. If you can get them to become passionate, to get that buy-in, man, they're gonna be on you. Hey, this type of call, you get off the truck and you always get this stuff, but when it's this type of call, you get off and you get this stuff. Why? Well, this is why. Because on this type of call, I do this. This is my function. On this type of call, this is my function. So I have to have the tools for that job, and these are the tools, and here's what they are, and here's why I use them. And go into detail with all that stuff. Make them want to do that. Make them want to take your job from you, because then you got to be better at it so they don't.
Right on. Love it. Great. The Y generation, man. And like you said, yeah, you touched on it so much. Number 3, the best rank or position to be in the fire service.
This is everybody's individual opinion, but you can't beat being a tillerman. I don't see it, man. I get paid to be a driver, and I don't really have to drive. I don't have to know where I'm going. You know what I mean? But I'm still there. One of my buddies, who's a lieutenant on other shift, he said the tiller truck, man, it's like a mullet, the mullet of the fire service, man. It's all business in the front, but it's nothing but party in the back, man. You're hanging out, doing all this stuff. You're waving at everybody. You're everybody's favorite person. And then you get there and you just show up and you wreck people's stuff. And then they thank you for it. And you just ride back home like you're in a parade, So, I mean, I know that, the company officers have their spot, and being a fireman and being a pipe man or a ladder man, it's all good. But man, if you can just swing the back of that stick wagon a couple times, it changes your whole world.
Your whole perspective.
Absolutely.
I love it. I hope to maybe someday, maybe I'll come down there and I'll show up at your station and your cap will be like, what are we doing for this guy?
Yeah.
But no, I don't have the perspective, so I will have to take your word for it on that fact.
You are more than welcome. Come on down.
I promise I'm going to show up, so I'll take you up on it. Best advice you have ever received?
This, I thought about this because it's one of those things that you've had so many good people on here, and they've all been given great advice. But one of the things that sticks in my mind, and it has for 25 years, when I finally got promoted to a non-commissioned officer in the Marine Corps, I got promoted by an old Vietnam vet, and he said, son, you're a leader now, whether you want to be or not. He said, and if you want to be a good leader, you have to remember one thing. And I was like, I'm all ears.
Right on.
He said, you want to be a good leader, you have to be the first to eat shit and the last to taste victory. And I said, okay. He's like, when things go wrong, you own it. It's your fault. You didn't train your people to do what they needed to do to the best of their ability. When things go right, that's your team's fault because you led them that way. So you give them that. They've earned it. They trained their ass off for you. They did all this for you. They've earned it. You sit back and watch. But when things go wrong, that's all on you.
I
said, yes, sir.
Go ahead.
No, that's it.
First to eat shit, last to taste victory. That's said in an eloquent way that only a veteran could say. You know what I'm saying? I love it, man. Dude, I love that one. Max points on that advice because I had never heard it put that way, and I love it. Number 5, heavy fire. I'm talking to the twisted Truckie, but we'll get there. Heavy fire and searchable space. Would you rather be assigned to the nozzle or first in on VES?
Always VES. Always. I'm a people first person. I love it. I love the challenge. I love the constant thinking and the constant, movement and how things are so dynamic. It's more challenging to me. I'm not saying that engine company stuff is simple by any means, but I've been in love with truck stuff for, over 30 years, and I've been doing it for over 20. first in VES all the way.
1,000%. I love it. Max points, my answer every time, man. Put me on VES. I want to make the grab. Even though I now have a buggy. Even though I was an engine guy.
You can still make grabs off that 2-seater.
It's all disappointment. But no, 1,000%, man. There it is. The 5 questions for firefighters, according to Kevin Lewis, the Twisted Truckie himself. All right. A lot of people asked how to get in touch with you about the GoPro videos, about getting a tiller in their city. A lot of people. So and book a class. Give them all the info on that.
Absolutely. You can either reach me at, I have the Facebook and the Instagram. It's, I believe the Instagram is at the Twisted Truckie. And then the Facebook is Twisted Truckie Training LLC. Or you can just hit me up on my email, kevinlewis51@yahoo.com. And I will get everything I can out to you. If you're close, we'll meet somewhere. I'll bring it to you. Nice. I'm not the most tech savvy guy. I've emailed some stuff to people and they're like, dude, I got nothing. So
There's nothing here.
Yeah, where are you at? I'll drive it to you, and if you have questions and you want to meet up, obviously, my firehouse is your firehouse. Come on by. We'll take the truck out for a spin. I'll show you. I'll put it through its paces for you and show you just, how easy it is. The biggest problem, the biggest fears, all this apprehension, it'll all go away when you leave the firehouse. We'll make it happen. I'll do whatever I can for anybody to make their fire department and their firefighters better.
Nice.
That's all I want to do.
It's a pretty good mission in life, I'm going to say.
Absolutely.
I love it. There it is. Officially 112 scraps in the books. I got that. Firehousevigilance.com. Hey, there's less than a dozen of the challenge coins left. I think I counted them up today. And that was showing sold out, but I had a few more. So I'm very proud of the coin. They did an unbelievably good job. Let me give a couple shout outs on coin. First of all, Philadelphia Squad 72. I don't know. They told me straight up they were compensating, but I don't know if this does the justice for this 4-inch coin. I'm trying to give it some scale. It is.
That's legit.
It is massive, but they gave me this when I was down there at the First In conference, and it is the most impressive size-wise coin I've ever seen. Luckily, I got a place by the stars. It's going to go up there, so it's massive. I got this in Virginia. Very, very proud of it. Keep pushing. Stay motivated, and don't listen to the mutts when they bark. And it's Brad Clark with his quote on the back. Very, very beautiful coin. A few more because I've had a lot of people, and I don't want to leave them out. Gentry Fire Department down in Arkansas. Adding it to the collection, guys. If you want your coin showcased on the scrap, just let me know. Send it in to me, and I will get it on here. I'll just do one more, and then we'll do we've got, and the good part is I can actually return the favor now that I have my coins. So there's been a lot of people who've tried to fill my flag, and I owe a lot of people coins. I will get them to you when I meet you. You can ask the guys that I've met so far when they remind me, because Siloam Springs Fire Department, unbelievably good conference down there. There it is. Snapped into focus finally. Beautiful coin. Love the thin red line flag. So I'll do some more on the next scrap. It's coming up in a few days. Speaking of which, heading through the holiday season, you had Dave McGrail, Danny Dwyer, and the Twisted Truckie to kick it off. And now we're going to Julio Ramos, Mo Davis, Justin Fraze, Raymond Dorval, Chris Kessinger. In December, right before Christmas, I'm planning a thing. It's called the Mega Scrap. It's a Mega Scrap. That's all I'm talking about. But it's coming December 20th. I'll give you more details as they are locked in. I think I got all my housekeeping done here at the end. Don't miss anything. If you see me, ask to get a picture with. I loved getting pictures and posting them with people. If you love the scrap, so if you see me, say, hey, can we get a picture? Because I'm the world's worst at getting pictures. So do so. If you haven't done it yet, on Amazon, support Next Rung with Amazon Smile. It's a great nonprofit organization that helps out first responders. And I know we all do our shopping on Amazon. And every time you buy something, they send money to Next Rung. So I say it until Christmas gets here. I'm going to keep saying it. If you think the scrap brings value to the fire service or to your fire service career, go support the show. Go to firehousevigilance.com. There's a donate button to support the scrap because I do not want to do ads to keep it going. So everybody, thank you to Kevin Lewis for coming in and crushing it tonight. Thank you, sir.
Absolutely, brother. Thank you.
It was a good time. Mutts don't scrap. I hope the tone stays silent. Unless it is burning, stay safe out there. Maybe. It's just gonna keep playing, I guess. I keep clicking it. End live video.
Perfect. I broke it.
Someone tell me if it ended. It just still says live here. End live video. No, I blame the Truckie. 100%. We're just gonna have to keep talking, I guess.
Broke it.
I don't know why it won't stop. Yeah. Thank you, Jared. At least someone told me. Anything else you want to talk about here? While I keep hammering this button. I'm gonna close the window. Maybe that will. Man, I don't want. I actually recorded it, so I hate to lose it. Thank you guys. I don't know why it won't end. One more round two. We cannot do. Thank you for your evening, guys. I don't know. I'm gonna close the window. Hopefully, I don't lose it. Stay safe, everybody. I'm gonna go back in and see if we're still live. Hold on.
Okay.
I have no idea what just happened, man. I really don't. I've never had that happen where I clicked the button and it didn't end. Firehouse Vigilance. We may still be live, so don't say anything off color. I think we're good. No, it still says live. I have no earthly idea. I had to shut down my computer.
That's right.
I think.
Well.
Is it still live? Yep, Chad Small said still live. Okay, it just went gray. Hold on. Still live. Yeah, thanks, John. John Sherstead. I worked so hard on being able to pronounce your name. I think it finally ended. We're good. No, it still says live. I have.
Should we just hold still for a long time and not say anything so they'll think it locked up and then they'll just shut their computers off?
Then just leave? Dude, we're still live. I have no, it will not stop. The world has spoken.
Oh, they don't want it to quit, I guess. I don't know.
Dude, I can't kill it. Just leave.
That's awesome. That's perfect.
Facebook said no. All right. I'm going to. Still there. They're saying nope, still there. I have no idea. Because when the controls don't work, dude, we're still live. I have no, it will not stop. All right, I'm going to try. I'm looking for any options here to end this. I think it's done. I actually have no idea.
Perfect.
I'm going to shut down my computer, maybe. Yeah. All right. I'm shutting down the computer. I usually have a conversation. I'll probably call you on your phone and just talk to you briefly because I usually have a conversation off air. Guys, I don't even know. All right. I'm going to power. I'm powering off. Like that.
All right.
I'm doing the hard reset here. Shut down.